everyone to the Virtual Ball Boys podcast. My name is Chris, and I am joined once again by my good friend, Matt.
Something is terribly wrong. Something is terribly wrong. Something is terribly wrong. Something is terribly wrong.
And that is?
You know.
I believe you're trying to reference what our middle segment's going to be today, but I don't. I think anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. you're alarming all of us here. No. Well, yeah. So this is going to be a very fun episode of the Virtual Ball Boys, because we're going to be going over one of Matt's favorite pieces of literature.
I guess that's what you would call it.
Yeah, they described it on the Wikipedia page like it's like a digital, digital
multimedia narrative.
Yeah, multimedia narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll get to that in the middle segment. Because my homework was to read up on that. And Matt's gonna guide me through his I guess reactions and favorite moments and all that in the middle segment. And of course we're gonna add our 7th team to the Virtual Ball Boys Football League, which is
very excited for that.
I'm
excited for this whole episode.
Yeah, we're getting near the end. We've got just 2 more teams, and this is gonna be our 7th today. Looking forward to that. But first, let's get to the news of the NFL. I mean, this is going to become a very dried up news segment very soon. I feel like there is not going to be a lot happening in the coming months. But I think one of the stories I wanted to touch upon, though, was the schedule release. We talked about it last week. We gave our predictions, and we now have the schedule. Initial thoughts on all things schedule, anything that stood out to you, Matt, at all?
The weirdest thing, or the coolest thing rather, is the Dolphins and the Jets. Due to a weird scheduling quirk, they will play each other in Miami, have a bye week, and then play each other. Both of them have a bye week at the same time, and then play each other in New York. First time teams play each other back to back since like 1991.
Yeah, I thought that is interesting, and I think one of the main things that we were all kind of looking for when this schedule released was, how are they going to try to accommodate for a coronavirus world, and so what ended up happening was that all the week 2 games, basically whoever you're paired with, that team is going to have a bye week the same time you do. And so that way, if, let's say, they have to they have to start moving things around, that they could basically move all the week 2 games to a team's bye week.
That bye week. Okay.
So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
And I also think that I mean, I guess when you talk about specific teams in terms of big platforms that they're getting, the Buccaneers for obvious reasons, and the Bills. I think those were the 2 teams that kind of stood out as not really popular teams in prime time, and because of either off-season moves or just expectations generally, they got the call, and I think the Bills have 4 primetime games this year. I think either 3 or 4, and the Buccaneers have, I think, the maximum. I think they were at like 6 or something, or 5.
It's Brady effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you think?
One more thing about the schedule thing, and this doesn't affect you quite as much, but there are a lot of fantasy football leagues that are going to be affected by the schedule this year. Do you know why that is?
How is that?
Because there are 2 teams with a week 13 bye.
That happened like a few years ago too, I believe.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So any team that does those 2-week long playoffs, I played in them before, where it's like your total for these 2 weeks count for your score. Week 13, you will not have Christian McCaffrey. You will not have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin.
Yeah.
You will not have very important players to your fantasy team.
Yeah, that's rough.
In the fantasy playoffs. If you're most teams do it 14, 15, 16 if they're one round.
Yeah.
Which is what my dynasty league does, thankfully, as a Christian McCaffrey owner.
Yeah, sure. No, so why my question to you then is if you're a league that does a 2-week playoff or 2-week round, so to say, like, does that mean that like do you think that the players that are on those two teams, the Panthers and Bucks, that their value goes down at that point, or do you think that they're still as important to draft?
See, that's gonna be a huge question, I think.
Yeah.
You could theoretically get some really good games out of Christian McCaffrey and then trade him.
For like a bunch of players that could try to equal the value.
For a few players. There's going to be a lot of strategy that goes into it. The other option is to do 14, 15, 16, 17. But you don't want to do week 17 either because so many players rest.
Right, exactly.
Which is like if you play week 17 championships, you're just wrong.
I wonder how that's gonna play out when we do get that 17th NFL game, because I wonder if they
depending on how late bye weeks go.
Right, like if there's gonna be a week 18 or like week 19, and would teams begin to rest players still at week 17 and have like a few weeks of resting? Like, I don't like. We don't know that world well enough. So obviously not this season, but next season when that's actually in place, that's gonna be a lot of questions for the fantasy world to try to grasp what teams are going to try to do. In terms of preserving players. So that's interesting. But yeah, overall, not a ton of surprises or anything on the schedule. I think I was a little surprised that they ended up going with pretty much a normal schedule for the most part. I thought that they would start out with, maybe just throw
as many interconference games.
Yeah, throw it in the beginning as much as possible. But it seems like they are putting their foot down, saying this is it.
The only thing different about this schedule is just no international games.
Yeah, I think that they by September there's enough testing where this shit can happen, but it's so things are just not trending in a good direction right now.
No.
I mean,
it's very tentative at this moment.
Yeah, so it's all like their NFL is gonna say this is the only schedule, but you have to think that they have to be getting prepared for more changes in the future. Next on the docket, these are a few items that happened basically the day after we recorded the last one, so they're a little dated for anyone that's pretty much in tune with the NFL. But when we last talked to you, Andy Dalton was a free agent, and now he's no longer. We took him; it was very quick. But Andy Dalton is a Cowboy. And which was a little bit surprising. People thought that he would go to a place where he had the potential to start. What do you think of this move?
His hair really clashes with the uniforms.
It's a little too bright.
Right, like he was perfect on the Bengals.
Yeah,
orange hair, orange uniforms.
Yeah, he just blended in. I mean, I think wherever he was gonna go, he's gonna stand out like a sore thumb.
No, I think it's good. He's definitely like it's obvious he's the backup to Dak, but this also gives the Cowboys a little bit of leverage in terms of Dak's contract negotiation if they ever need to use that. Like, hey, we have someone behind you.
Yeah,
we could just not sign you again.
Yeah, there's a weird swath of Cowboys fans that are ready to throw Dak to the curb and be like, Andy Dalton's our guy, which is really just sad.
They're idiots.
Because
Dak Prescott is a better quarterback than Andy Dalton. I hate to break it to you.
It is because I think that there's and this is not all Cowboys fans. There's a good chunk of them who love Dak Prescott, but there's a lot of them that are like, get Dalton in there. We can win with Dalton. Everything's good. Like it's like there's two sides of it. There's the one side where it's like you have the Dak is going to be the starting quarterback, and Andy Dalton is going to, he's gonna, maybe there'll be some pressure with him, like you mentioned, with maybe the Cowboys have some leverage now with the contract situation where they could say, well, you know what, if we lose you, it's not going to be the end of the world because we have this guy who's a capable star in the league, and whatever it is what it is. But there's the other side of it too, and I think it also helps the Cowboys in this sense. Not to keep on talking about it, but in this current climate, in the way things are, a backup quarterback is going to be more important than ever. Because what if, and who knows how they're going to have the NFL structured, if they're going to have people living in hotels or anything. But God forbid, knock on wood, that something happens where a starting quarterback gets COVID, and they have to sit out for a few weeks. It's good to have a backup quarterback that's going to be able to carry your team for 2 weeks while where your quarterback recovers. And so I think it's not only a smart move injury-wise, just in case something happens to Dak that way, but it's also good. It's also important for the climate as well. This is the fact that the Cowboys have 2 starting quarterbacks, and you don't have a controversy necessarily where you're like, oh, well, we're going to have a quarterback battle. We're going to pit these 2 guys together. We're going to see who wins. No, Dak's our guy. And Andy Dalton's going to serve as a backup if we need to have him come in to replace Dak. It's a great. That's when it's good to have 2 quarterbacks at that point, where you have a clear starter, but you have someone who is very capable to come in and light the world on fire. Do you think they can win with Dalton?
I don't know. Because I don't know, the Bengals have just been so bad the past couple of years that it's hard to gauge Dalton's overall ability. Mm-hmm. I still think Dalton is pretty good if he's in the right situation. The offense just wasn't in a good situation. The Cowboys are going to have a much better offensive line.
Yeah,
I think Dalton can do well, but I think that Dak will do better.
Oh, no question. I completely agree with you there. I just think if there's a situation where Andy Dalton does have to step in, I think that's a good situation for them, just because they have the offensive line, like you said. Although that's one of the big questions though, because they did lose Travis Frederick.
They did.
For retirement, he did not play a lot of last year, or I don't think he even played last year at all. So I am curious to see how that line still stacks up, but he has a plethora of receivers to throw to.
Yeah.
He has Ezekiel Elliott, who could still play relatively well. I think that he'll have the support needed to do well if in a chaos scenario, not a non-good chaos scenario, where if Dak Prescott has to be on the bench for a little bit. Let's move on to the Bears. Trubisky, also something that happened basically like a few days after we recorded. Mitch Trubisky's 5th-year option was declined, which was the expected move by the Bears after they brought in Nick Foles to essentially compete with him for a starting job. It's basically an admission at this point that the Bears did not feel like they picked the right guy right now. Where are you at on this move right now?
It's funny that Bears Twitter is absolutely undoubtedly praising this move because the front office has just done has made moves that Bears fans have not always agreed with.
I'm sure.
So the fact that they make a smart move is big news.
Absolutely, it is. I mean, you have, and I think that they're just saying right now that it's we're gonna just we're just gonna basically put the pressure on Trubisky to succeed. I think I asked you this question already regarding the quarterback situation there, but do you think Trubisky has a shot to be the starter week 1?
Week 1, yes.
Okay.
Especially since training camp is going to be all fucked up. I don't know if he would be pulled immediately to start the season. I think It's hard to tell. I think if training camp was going on and Foles and Trubisky had equal chances to work, then Foles would be an easy choice.
Yeah.
But I think Trubisky will start week 1.
How
long that will last, I don't know.
Yeah.
Foles will end the season if he doesn't start it.
You know what it is, though? Yeah, all right, because that's just how he does it.
Yep.
You know what it is, though? At the same time, I love you mentioned the fact that we don't even know if there's going to be a training camp this year, but I think that Foles, who has been in Nagy's system before with the Kansas City Chiefs, and they know that he can be a good player, Foles, and I do wonder if they might say, let's go with the veteran to lead this squad because of because of the lack of training camp, because we didn't get a chance to really try to develop Trubisky more, we didn't get the chance to work with him more and try to get him better. We know Foles, we know what he can do, he's been in the league for a long time. Let's put him out there first because he might be the safer bet. Like, I wonder if that also comes into the mind, into thinking about it. Because I don't know. I feel like that there's a chance that they could trust Foles at this point more than Trubisky, without having a training camp to really see if Trubisky has improved at all.
I would much rather have Foles starting. I'll say that.
Yeah, it could happen. But so we'll see. That's one, I think, the most intriguing quarterback situations.
Absolutely.
Maybe next to like New England at this point for whatever the hell they're doing. It's a lot of questions up in the air there. One last piece of news. Just figured it'd be fun to throw out there. Frank Gore is a Jet. He's back.
He will keep going.
Yes. Now, didn't you say that they one of your favorite podcasts made a joke about Frank Gore? And I feel like it's worth I think it's worth giving them credit for that.
Right. So, Fantasy Footballers, great podcast if you're into fantasy. So, they've had a joke about Frank Gore that came out around the time that Avengers Infinity War was happening. That Gore just always has a job. He is infinite. He is all. He is Gore. And one of their fans pointed out that Gore, all the teams that Gore is going to, he's collecting the Infinity Stones. You got the gold one from the 49ers, blue from the Colts, orange from the Dolphins, red from the Bills, green from the Jets. If Frank Gore goes to the Vikings or the Ravens after this year, he's collected them all.
And then no one will be able to stop Frank Gore.
No one will be able to stop Gore.
Yeah, it's over. It's over and done with. I actually just realized that there is one last bit of news to mention. Did you hear what happened with Earl Thomas a few weeks ago?
Oh my God!
Yeah,
jeez.
I did. I forgot.
Oh
about that.
No! Oh no!
So just long story short, Earl Thomas left his locations on his Snapchat. And I guess his wife or his fiance. I'm not too sure.
One of the two.
Yeah, his wife, I guess, found that he was in a location maybe where he shouldn't have been, and she went hunting him down, and it turns out he was in the middle of an orgy with his brother, and all hell broke loose. Essentially, I think that she, what was it? Did she like try to fire a gun at him?
I think that's what it was.
There was just all hell broke loose.
It was something like she emptied the clip and was just trying to use the gun as intimidation, but there was still one in the barrel or something. I don't know how guns work.
Yeah, obviously, not. We kind of laugh at the situation because of what happened on his letting his Snapchat go, knowing that people might be able to track you down after that, but it is also it's also a serious situation. Hopefully everything gets sorted out there. But
the weirdest thing about it was how nonchalantly he responded.
Yes. Do you remember how it went? Where he posted the video before it all came out.
It was basically just like, y'all, these things happen.
it happens, man. Like this is fine.
Orgies with your brother and
and also trying to and also having my wife point a gun at me and empty the clip. Fucking oh god. Rip. So that's Earl Thomas, and I don't know if the Ravens might be looking to potentially release him with the drama that's happening around him. I don't know. It's a little messy. It's a little bit of a messy.
Yep.
But hey, nothing like a good revenge story with a cheating scandal. That's for sure. Okay. Time for the segment that certainly Matt's been waiting for. Go you just take it away, man.
All right. So the best way I can, first of all, if you haven't read it yet, a lot of this discussion is going to be very confusing. Go look it up. Literally just search. I can't necessarily say a URL that will work, but search 17776. Click on the first link, take it from there. That's all that I want to say to people who haven't read it.
We will make sure to put a link in. When I say we, I mean I'll make sure to put a link in the description of the podcast, so that way you could go check it out.
Yeah. So this was conceived and written by Jon Bois of SB Nation. Jon Bois has, over the past couple years, has become probably my favorite sports writer ever. He presents information in super unique ways. All of his videos that he puts out are super well done. The storytelling is phenomenal. He just got done with a Mariners documentary, which is fucking floored me how well produced that was. I cannot recommend his stuff enough. Go check him out. Anyways, so when I first heard about 17776, there's got to be let's abbreviate it as just 17 when we talk about it.
Sure, that sounds good, because otherwise we're just it's gonna be 177777. Like we'd be broken.
Right. Yeah, so let's just call it 17. So when I heard like some things talking about it, and I've been following Jon for a while, and I finally looked into it, and I had no idea what to expect. It certainly wasn't this. But this is as an overview. It is a look into a speculative future if humans one day just stopped aging, stopped being born, stopped dying, and remained as they are until the end of time. And after humans figured out all their problems, they play football.
That's all they do.
That's pretty much all they do.
Yeah.
There's and I love the way the story starts out, because you don't know what's happening. Mm-hmm. You, like the main character, do not know what's happening. There's a bunch of calendars. They're trying to communicate with each other, talk to each other, and you slowly realize that the main character of the story is a space probe. The main three characters of the story are all space probes: Pioneer 9, Pioneer 10, and Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, who are all real space probes. What did you think about that? So, this way of telling the story.
So well, I'll say this: when I first started reading it, and I had no idea what I was throwing myself into. I only knew the caption. It was 17 for short. Yeah, it was just 17. What football will look like in the future. And I was just like, okay, so they're probably just gonna talk about us living in an age where the NFL is doing these crazy technological things. I didn't really expect much. And then you get warped into this the count scrolling through a calendar with this being that you have no idea who or what it is, just manically what the fuck is happening? And I'm like,
please answer me.
Yeah, I'm like, I I have now entered a sphere that I will not be able to return from, apparently. But no, I loved it. I thought that way of storytelling was very unique because it gave you a look into just kind of like it's as outside of perspective as you can have to what's happening on Earth, because like you even know like there's been some interesting arguments, because I was reading some of like the critical reviews of this. There's some arguments that even some of the what would they be called, probes? Where are they?
Space probes.
They're probes. So even some of the probes might be unreliable narrators, but I think if you were a human talent trying to tell this story, it might be a little unreliable because you're just a human on the Earth. Like, it's hard to tell the story of the Earth if you're just one human. These are things that are looking at the entire Earth from the sky
and have all human information ever.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I thought that was very interesting to me. I thought it was an excellent choice on his part.
Yeah. So I kind of I've divided this this idea or this thing into like kind of 4-5-ish sections.
Okay.
Just about things that I want to talk about.
Sure.
It's going to be kind of related to football, kind of related to storytelling, and kind of very, very existential.
Yeah, so I was going to say that my overarching takeaway from all this is that if you want, like, the best, this would be the perfect story for you if you're into football and existential crises. Like, this is like the perfect blend of both to me, because that's basically like halfway through the story you kind of like realize, man, I'm just a speck. I'm just a piece of dirt in the middle of this fucking universe. That's all I am. Fuck, like, that's basically what you go through.
Extremely contemplative.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So the first one I want to talk about are just the characters of 9, 10, and Juice.
Mm-hmm.
So 9, the protagonist, very unaware about things, just as unaware as we are. 10, 9's technically little sister, because she was sent after, but has been active and thinking much longer than he has. And then Juice, who actually hasn't been launched yet. They reveal at the end that Juice is going to be launched in 2022, or planned to be launched from France. So these are Juice is kind of just like their friend, and
the comic relief.
Comic relief. Juice is a goofball.
Yes.
In all senses of the word. But the way that they are personified in this, being able to just kind of view whatever they want on Earth. The cameras and the images that we see as readers are all seen through their eyes as well. What they see is what we see, essentially. Mm-hmm. They can kind of just pull up whatever information they want. But I also like just the way that they're all characterized.
Yeah, I loved the balance of it all. I love Juice. I mean, I think it's hard not to...
Juice is incredible.
I think it's hard not to love a character that is just so out there. I think my favorite moment of the whole thing was very early on, a video where I think 9 and 10 are basically trying to have a very serious conversation, and Juice is just trying to describe Lunchables to 9 the whole time, which is it's just very funny.
Could do like a Big Mac, do cracker, ham, cheese, cracker, ham, cheese, cracker. That's my brand of humor though, where it's just so stupid and just so like trying to go off track of like where it was trying to be a very serious discussion of trying to teach 9 like what the hell is happening in the universe, and meanwhile it's just like cracker, ham, cheese, ham, cracker, cheese, like no fucking reason whatsoever. There's a super unique perspective you get from 10 right at the start, where 10 basically just says, "I love all of the humans." I love it. Like 10 and Juice have been watching humans do things for a really long time, thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
They're also able to like communicate with them through phones and such. a lot of humans know that they're up there, kind of watching them.
Yeah, so that's I'm glad that you brought that up. Do you have anything further on that point? Because I just have I have a statement on that.
Go ahead.
Because I found that there's one scene where Nine has a full-on phone conversation with basically one of like the main like football players. Football players that's based in the story. I think maybe if there is one thing that I felt like a little weird about for this story, it was that I felt I personally love the fact that these guys served as our narrators, and when the narrators like inserted themselves a little bit more into the story, it felt out of place, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
Like it did. I felt like it's fun kind of just hearing them talk about it and not interacting with the humans, be more of like observers, and then to have I get it. It kind of bridged the gap for like Nine to kind of learn how to communicate with people, and I understood the purpose for it, but it felt very weird to have that be a thing that happened. But again, the idea, I guess, talking to a droid in space from Earth is also just weird. I guess I just meant like from a narrator point of view.
Yeah. Anything else about 9, 10, or Juice that you want to?
I found that it was very much. I forget if I can find it. There was someone gave a very interesting comment that like 10 kind of serves as like the angel of the story, and Juice is kind of like the devil of the story, and how like because of that, because 10 10 loves the humans and has like this very like it very much is in defense of the humans a lot of times, and Juice just is just loves the chaos of things. He's very hashtag
upset when people stopped stepping on garden hose.
Yeah, very upset. He's hashtag team chaos all the way. But that's where the unreliable narrator comment came in, though, because of the fact that they do have that both of them have like these inherent biases. So when they talk about the humans, they might have a different perspective, where 9 is kind of stuck in between kind of like these two different perspectives at the same time. I enjoyed having those perspectives, though, and I enjoyed having that balance. I enjoyed the fact that it was not just these two probes trying to explain to us what the world was like, and they're both very flat in telling it. Like it's them, they had their own personalities to it and had their own backstory behind it.
Totally. Next thing I want to talk about is how football is played. There are a lot of different games that are shown off in this world. They all have generally the same rules of football. Like, you want to get your ball from point A to point B, and there are a lot of different games that have taken advantage of this. So the first one that we see to kind of get introduced in this is what I dubbed the tornado game. It's Team Iowa versus Team Wyoming. The field of play is Nebraska. Next score wins.
Yeah.
There's another game where it's not necessarily a football game, but there's this guy who is playing a game where he's trying to collect all of the footballs autographed by backup quarterback Coy Detmer. There's a game where they mentioned very quickly a typo game where the field of play was 1 yard long and 1,000 yards wide. And all these games have to be like registered, and they all have a number attached to them, in terms of their officiality, like what games they're referring to. There's another game where the width of the field is an entire football field length or width, but it goes from Canada to Mexico, which is insane. Mm-hmm. There's a game of 500 that they play, which we'll get into later. There's a game in Louisville where the guy is trying to the guy's trying to be in their end zone for 10,000 years, and he's like almost there. And then there's game 27, which is my favorite of them all.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Game 27 being the Broncos-Steelers game that has divulged into pure chaos where 58 different parties own parts of the field. Broncos and the last Steeler show up to try to keep the game going in some capacity, but there's like condos and a Bojangles. And...
I was about to say, I think my favorite part of all of this is that they're like, oh yeah, there's a Bojangles here. That's just
not only that there was a Bojangles there, but they moved the Bojangles.
Yeah, the Bojangles set up shop right on the football field, and it's basically taking up number whatever the fuck it was. So good.
The best part about it though is that it's implied. Game 27's existence is implied because the NFL rulebook just got so fucking nuts with the rules that they put in.
Yeah, it was kind of a commentary on the idea of the catch rule, which at the time when this story was written was still a very much a massive talking point. You know, and that they're like, okay, we have to determine what constitutes a catch, what doesn't, and we have to. It became we have to start analyzing the angle and everything that goes into a catch, and so there's I forget how many provisions, if they even if they said it in the story, that were added, but it basically got to the point where everyone just started arguing, and that's what kind of delved into... They
could claim ownership of certain parts of the field.
Yeah, that it basically... And it turned into a conversation of, like, capitalism, too. Like, how, like, everyone just has to stand their ground on whatever, all their land that they have, and they have to defend their land no matter what. And they can't just make peace. They're competitive. They got to stick in there, hold tight to their property as much as possible.
10 fucking hates Game 27 too.
Yes, that was the balance for that right there.
What were we gonna say?
No, I was saying that's the balance of 10 and Juice right there. The 10 was the 10 absolutely despises the whole thing. It also seems to be pretty pro communism too. So it was, kind of blends the two.
Any last notes about the games and how just the games themselves are played?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think my only comment on that was that while reading this story, it got me thinking about what this world would be like if this was because we're deep into it now, and I think that we'll stand pat for this year. But if the virtual Ball Boys Football League turned into playing a football game across video game landscapes, quite like this, that's kind of what I picture. It reminded me of like a subspace emissary version of a football game. Essentially, what was unfolding in this hypothetical world.
Totally. All right. Next, I wanted to go through to the social issues that are presented, because it's not just football and existentialism. You got to have it with it. Being existential, you got to have some commentary on things. It's not just, oh, we exist, we're out here, what does it mean, and have that be the end.
Sure.
So I think the most noticeable thing that isn't clear right at the start is that a lot of America has sunken due to rising sea levels from global warming, including a good chunk of the East Coast, a lot of the Southeast, and as they put in later, New York City.
Yeah, I'm gone.
Long Island is gone.
Long Island. I live on Long Island, and that's just gone at that point.
Yeah, right. So the commentary of, hey, global warming. Juice mentions, there's a speech that Juice gives, and it's right at the end, right before 9 shuts off, where Juice kept saying like, they just kept bargaining. Oh, it won't happen today. I live in Kansas City. Who cares? Things like that. And they just let it get worse. Humans in this future have solved so many problems, but this is one that they either solved too late or started on too late, and it's a trajectory that we might be on right now.
Let me ask you something. What did you think of the? Well, first of all, I love that they did very much talk about that. What do you think? I found it very interesting, and I liked it that he chose Juice to be the one to tell that perspective. What did you think about that?
I thought it was great because it not Juice is the comic relief, but he's still super knowledgeable about shit, and was able to offer his perspective in that way. I thought it was great, and instead of 10, because this was also after 10 just went all in on existence, and miracles. Juice kind of went in on had a miracle talk too, but after 10 goes all in on like what it means to exist, having Juice do this, just a commentary of, hey, these are all the good things that humans have done. This is one thing that we fucked up on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I just loved it in the fact that, like, I feel like it hits more to home for people to hear it from. Like, I think you need more voices that seem to be positive talk about something like this, because it's like you'll take Juice very seriously, but like he takes this moment to be very serious, and I think that's what, you know, may make not that people shouldn't already know about all this that's happening, but if you read that and I feel like it might hit you in a different way when reading it from that perspective.
And I don't know if this is part of it too, but 10, so they're all space probes. 10 goes by she, Juice goes by he, but maybe, like, I don't know if the concept of 10 coming off as female saying it would have been different than Juice, but I agree that Juice being a lot goofier and then dropping this huge truth bomb about New York City was a very good touch.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, one of my favorite things was Juice was excitedly telling Nine something. It was like, dude, listen. And then he stopped himself. It's like, wait, are you dude? And Nine's like, I'm not sure. It's like, oh, cool. It's whatever, whichever's cool, man. But also don't feel the need to ascribe to the gender binary. Which I thought was an amazing joke.
Yeah, no, I mean it just, well, because it's like the probe is just being like, I don't know, like,
yeah.
like
it's like I don't know what I am.
Yeah. Which,
it's like, hey, whatever, it's cool.
Yeah, which people deal with, and that's great, and I love that they addressed that.
Yeah. And then, okay, the last thing I wanted to talk about, and saved it for last just because I think it's the more important, is the concept that this story has presented about immortality.
Mm-hmm.
Where on April 7th, 2026, humans stopped being born, humans stopped dying, they stopped aging, and have not done so for 15,000 years, about. There's a quote that 10 says where 9 is so confused by this. 9 was built in the 60s, so what he knows is the 60s. But there's a quote from 9 or from 10 this is just how things are. Humans live forever. They don't age. They are prevented from dying by these things called nanos, which are in the air that basically they can put out fires, they can cushion people's falls. Anything that could kill a human, humans invented something to prevent that from happening. Mm-hmm. All of the games that happen, they have the potential to be hundreds of years long. We get a lot of instances where we can look at people's scorecards, and there's like 1,000. In Nancy's scorecard, there's a 1,000-year gap because she was helping her daughter at the general store. Where now that humans have solved all the problems that they had, all they can do is play. The only enemy is boredom. What did you think about this idea?
Here's what I'd be interested in examining, because they talk a lot about I definitely want to touch upon the fact that immortality, all that it basically has done is now just, for us is to, now the only problem that we deal with is boredom. But realistically, and I know this is not all realistic, and we're talking, this is all speculative. What I think about how divided everyone is, and how I think, especially when you talk about race relations and you talk about, just generally the hierarchy that there is there, the patriarchy that's there, that exists in society. To me, not that I would have expected this article to address something like that, but is it trying to imply that all of that just went away with immortality?
Like war and
war
and all that.
They said that war was eradicated and all that, but like I don't know. I just feel like that the general, are they saying that general bias, the prejudice?
Prejudice. I'm not sure. I'm not. I don't think they addressed that specifically.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, because to me, like, to think that this is just a now. I don't even want to say perfect world, but now everyone is immortal, so now everyone just gets along. Like, I think that's even as dark as this story is, I think that is something that they gloss over a little bit, on the idea that everything is fine except boredom. Like, that there's that other element to it where I just feel like,
I think it was implied in, like, saying, like, war and poverty and things were solved, in that and I don't necessarily want to say that prejudice was too, just outright, but I'm pretty sure, at least how I interpreted that was kind of in that boat.
Because I just think that it's painting a very it ends up painting a little bit more of, and again, there is some darkness to it, and we'll get into it in a second. But it does imply that there's a little bit more, like, all the humans are now on, like, an even playing field. That everyone, like, almost like one in, like, 85,000 human beings have been president by now, and saying that everything is now equal for humans across the board. I would have been interested in learning a little bit more about that, but something that I also thought, I think that you have to, when you enter this story, you have to kind of know that not everything that you think or you're wondering, and even what Nine's wondering, you're just not going to know the answers at the end. And then that's kind of a a saying about life. We won't know. There's a lot of things that we don't know right now that we wish we did, but it just kind of like, you just have to kind of be happy with what you have around you, what you do know, so that way you can kind of keep on putting one foot in front of the other.
Mm-hmm. They mentioned in all of this that, kind of moving on, still kind of the same topic.
Sure.
They mentioned that the reason why everything still isn't a utopia, people still drive, like, beat up cars, they still have to get their oil changed, whatever else, because they still wanted some difficulty. They wanted to be able to do things, and nothing extremely bad is affecting them, as much as is happening right now. They can't die.
Mm-hmm.
But just to, like, feel something, have some difficulty in there, and that's kind of why this need for football has been just expounded upon. This is what humans have been doing with their time.
I think that's it's kind of sad, because you do think about this world where, like, everything that we try to achieve, scientifically, or whatever we've aimed to achieve, in our lives, our dreams, that that the fact of the matter is that the fact that you know that there is going to be an end, that there is going to be, that we are going to be reaching a finish line at some point, and that you don't know when that's going to be, but you know that it's there and it exists. The fact that is what kind of drives a lot of us, even if you don't think about it, to try to do as much as we can and try to achieve as much as we can, because you just don't know what the next day is going to bring. And when you are living in a world where everyone's immortal and you have no worry in the world, you wanted to achieve things. Like, you could still do it, but then what are you going to do after that? You're immortal. Like, you have all this time in the world. Like, what's going to be the point when it's all said and done? And that basically is that. I think that what they were hinting at was the fact that people, they explored as much as they could of this universe, found nothing, and just decided to give up exploration altogether because they were like, all right, well, let's not waste our time doing this.
The funny fucking thing about that is that they mention places. Nancy has a quote, kind of mentioning the fact that humans have been everywhere on this planet, and Juice is like, nah, there are places where nobody walks. There's a circle in Wyoming. There's a fucking patch of grass next to a business park. He mentions next to a business park in suburban Chicago. There's a patch of grass that after it was planted, no one has walked on it.
Can I ask you something? Not that you don't necessarily live in Chicago, but have you ever?
I do not know where that is.
Okay, cool. I was curious about that. I was like, I wonder, knowing you, I feel like you would want to find that place and then walk on it.
I was trying to figure out based on the interstate next to it, but I couldn't.
Okay, cool. Just curious. But I don't know. I thought that was such a heavy part of the of the story, and I think it was a very important thing to address, because it's like it's basically saying, like, yes, you live forever, but
is that a good thing?
Yeah, is it really that great that you get to live forever? Because then after you achieve everything that you want and do everything that you want, you still got all the time in the world, and then what are you gonna do? And that's why, I think 10 or I think it's 10 who says that, like, basically, like, humans are creatures of play.
Creatures of play. I have that written down in caps.
Yeah.
Like,
that's what basically that's what kind of keeps them not thinking about, or not being bored, is just being able to play as much as possible.
So I think that all of these themes are really wrapped up well in the game of 500 that happens. So in this universe, the game of 500, there's a huge ball, 200-pound ball that's fired off of Denali, the tallest mountain on North America and in Alaska. It's fired towards the contiguous 45 states they mention. And then it's just the game of 500. Whoever finds it first gets the number of points. If you get 500, you get to flown up to Alaska and you get to be the operator.
Why did they say 45 states again? I forget.
Because some of them have sunk.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I was thinking like, what would be that 5? That would be Hawaii was one. I guess Delaware would be another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah. Yeah, Florida.
Florida's gone. Yeah, but 45 lower states. So, so that's like the rules of this 500 game, and we follow at one point this 500 player named Lucretia Evans, who has been playing for about 10,000 years, I think, hasn't done anything. 10,000 years, not a single ball being collected, and finally, she gets her chance. She's talking in a fucking Burger King drive-thru with the guy about how it's something that she just gets up to do every day. It's still a goal that she has. Even if it's been going on for 10,000 years, it's still something to propel her forward. It's something that she is able to achieve. And then she drives away after commenting on how shit Burger King's patties are. She drives away, is trying to connect to the Bluetooth. Bluetooth still doesn't fucking work right. Gets on the phone and finds out that, hey, she can get this ball. But where the ball is shot, it's shot to is it Livermore?
Mm-hmm. Livermore.
The Livermore, California fire station, where a light bulb has been hanging for 17,000 years, has not been turned off, has not been burnt out.
And it's destroyed.
It's destroyed.
Yep.
Ten and Juice are devastated because everything has been immortal to them. When they gained consciousness, humans were immortal already. And this thing was the oldest surviving electronic thing. It was essentially their ancestor is how they viewed this light bulb.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Juice earlier had Nine calculate that there was a 1 in 5.2 billion chance that this ball would land on that patch of grass in Chicago, it's about the same odds that it would land right on that light bulb.
And it did.
It did.
At least in the story.
And something died. Something died.
Yeah.
I've read the story twice in the past couple weeks. One a couple weeks ago just to remind myself, and then one earlier today to take some notes on it. This shit hits different in the current state that we're living in this country.
Go on.
Because or in the world right now, because right now we're in a place where just day to day time does not seem real to us. But there's death happening all the time.
Yeah.
And the like in both cases, like, time doesn't matter as much right now for a lot of people. It's been 2 months since we've started all of this, and it doesn't feel like 2 months have passed. I don't know if it feels like longer or shorter, but time has just been wrong almost. Kind of same thing here. People are immortal. Time keeps going. It's a lot more dangerous right now than it is in 17, but the human existence as a whole just gets really put into perspective with this story, and it's just been making me really think a lot lately.
I'm sure it is, like, because one of the things that we have in our lives is we have to deal with grief, and we are as a country, I guess, right now, a lot of us are grieving right now for not just the people who are suffering from COVID and those who have passed because of COVID. They're also grieving normal times as well. People want to be back doing normal things and want to go to, they want to go to the movie theaters again. They want to go watch sports again. They want to
see their family members.
They want to see their family members. Yeah, I mean, that's talking at a very much more significant level too. Like, it's just, there's so much grief that is happening right now, and in this hypothetical world, it's like grief was eradicated, because it's like humans didn't have to deal with loss anymore. They had everything was fine. But losing a light bulb, something that was fascinating for years, is going to probably hit harder than it does in a state of when, we live or die, because you just don't experience grief that often. And for, I wonder too, like, these states that are now going underwater because of global warming in the story too, like, that has to be, there has to be some grief there as well, and but it's not, you lose that a lot in with being immortal. And many people might say, well, that's a good thing, we don't have to be sad about losing as much anymore. But it's grieving sucks, but it's such a normal part of life and dealing with it, that it's just you lose being in a normal state of mind when you have this idea that, oh, nothing's bad in the world, we can do whatever we want, everything's fine. You lose that a lot in that hypothetical situation.
Yeah. Like the first time I read that, the bulb breaking just fucking wrecked me.
Yeah.
Like it just like, and I was just with 10 and Juice, like like you weren't expecting bad things to happen, and something bad happened, and that's part of life.
Yeah.
Even seemingly immortal life.
Yeah. Like you can't completely escape it necessarily, but
yeah.
I think that what the author is saying kind of is that, in a weird way, like, I don't know, like, it's hard to describe it, but like, I guess he's trying to say like appreciate the fact that you're kind of able to kind of that you're, I don't know, you're able to experience it still, and like normally, I guess, like, I don't know how to best put that, because I don't know, you could say like, yeah, grieving is great, you get to experience all the time, like, no, but like no,
I get what you mean.
Yeah, it's very much like he's trying to say, like, everything is, as that's why being immortal is not great, because you lose these basic human, like, what you're used to having in the world, like, you just lose that.
Totally. Their time to go never was, as I think Nancy put it.
Yeah.
All right, any final thoughts?
I mean, like I said, I think it was really good. It was just, like I said, I mean, we were having a very existential conversation as a whole. It's so much more than the football aspect, although the football aspect is fun to follow. And I feel like even now, like, it would be like, it's fun to implement a game like that, if you have the time and the resources to do so, like, to implement football games where you're just kind of like traveling the world, and like you say, like, all right, East Coast is an end zone, West Coast is an end zone. See how many times you could cross the end zone or whatever.
Right.
So like there's some fun elements to it, but it also gives you a look into the future, and if what the future would look like if everything ended up being where humans were fine. And it gives you a lot to think about, and like in like a
Certainly.
we're all scared of the future. The future is scary as all hell, but it makes you kind of appreciate what you have a lot more, knowing that you have that time.
We're scared of the future, but we have a future.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just wild. It's just a wild thing.
Right. Yeah. So reading this in the current times is hits even harder for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that the Browns continue to be bad after the timeline of the story.
Yeah, well, I mean, the NFL, as we know it, completely is eradicated as well in this story.
Also true. Except for Game 27.
Game 27 is still going on. And the
Broncos fans are crazy.
The lone stealer that shows up every 500 years to sit on a stool and just be like, all right, I'm here, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, go check it out. If you have, it's like an hour and a half read, so it's a little bit of time, but
it is so worth it.
It's good. It's
really check out the rest of Jon Bois's and SB Nation's stuff. His series is Chart Party and Pretty Good on SB Nation and their YouTube channel. No, Siri, shut up. Go check those out. That's kind of how I got to know him. Yeah. That is 17,776.
Maybe if we're lucky enough, we could get him on for an interview. Maybe.
That would be strange.
It would be.
Anyway, it's free play. Clock sells zeros. It's after the end of the world.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Let's do it. Yeah. Let's move on to a more fun topic. Hopefully we didn't give anyone major anxiety through that conversation. But it's okay, you're valid. So we have I'm gonna do the randomizer right now, but yes, we have 2 teams left. And what are the 2 areas that we have not touched upon quite yet? Like just general regions, I guess you could say.
General regions. We need the one more team kind of out west and one more team in the southeast.
Okay. So I have here a city in the southeast that we're going to include, and was kind of hoping that we'd avoid them altogether. But looks like we're going to Alabama, my friend.
Okay.
In Phoenix City, FHENIX Space City.
That is not how I expected that. Can you respell that?
So it's basically Phoenix without the O.
Okay, with a P?
With it's PHE.
Okay, you said F. Did
I say F?
Yes.
Oh, well, my bad. PHENIX. Yes. I see it. It's the same sound, whatever.
Yeah. Well, when you need the spelling part, when I need to look shit up.
Sorry. All right, PHENIX City. It's a population
I got it.
Yeah, it's a population of 36,000 as of 2018, based in Russell County.
It's about on the Alabama-Georgia border.
Okay. So let us dive in here. Where are you looking first?
I'll be on Wikipedia if you want to go to their website.
All right, I'm on a .us. Oh man, they're just patriotic as all hell.
That's official.
The .us, and URL Phoenix City AL .us.
So first thing I notice, their history, it says what some claimed was the last battle of the Civil War took place here.
Okay.
That's something. Obviously, like their name Phoenix can maybe lend itself to something.
Sure, that's not how you spell. I mean,
it's not how you spell the bird, but
their symbol is the bird.
Yeah.
What are some bird races in D&D?
D&D. The only one I can think of is Kenku and Aarakocra, but I don't know if I necessarily want to do D&D because those are like D&D properties. Everything else we have is like a general fantasy term.
Okay. I to be fair, I've this whole time been thinking we've been doing something D&D related, but that's just because I'm not as
I have explained to you that it's just general fantasy, not D&D.
I don't know, man. Sometimes my mind's in a place where it's not meant to be, and I have to be told something multiple times. It's fine.
The name of the junior college is Chattahoochee.
Oh, fuck no. Come on. That's not a real thing. That doesn't exist. Real. That doesn't exist. It exists. Come on, man.
No, it's real.
On second. That's not... Leave it to Alabama to make things weird. Yeah, you're right. Chattahoochee Valley Community College. Oh, my goodness. All right, well, you know what? You know what that means. If this team has a fucking football team, which most likely it does... We're
well, that's where they're playing.
That's where they're playing. No, you can't get out of this now. They're the Pirates, of course.
Nice.
That's their mascot. My goodness gracious. Okay. Let me see. I'm trying to find if there's like a history thing, because right now they just kind of like. focusing on government.
There's not much more about them.
It's a little up in the air.
Yeah, just that they were named after the bird. Even on their website, there's no definitive source that reveals why the name was chosen.
It was as unsurprisingly, it was originally the territory of the Coweta branch of the Creek Indian Nation. After the city of Columbus, Georgia was established in 1828. Traders and other individuals who preferred a less regular frontier culture gravitated to the Creek Indians' towns on the other side of the Chattahoochee River, otherwise known as just white genocide, probably.
Yep.
We're really taking a dark turn on this podcast. Thus, Phoenix City's reputation as a wild and untamed place appears even here. Oh my god, no. Oh my god. That's so bad to say after that. As a wild and untamed place. Like,
God,
Alabama, you don't.
Alabama, what are you doing?
You don't. Well, honestly, can we be surprised? Can we be surprised at this point?
We can't, but.
Wait, there's actually a history. So they have a history section, right? But underneath the history section, there's actually a header that says organized crime on it. And let me just read this because I have no idea what this fucking means. Also, during the 1940s, Phoenix City increasingly came under the control of an organized crime bosses who ran gambling, narcotics, and prostitution operations throughout the city. Why would you put this on your city website?
Why would you put this on the website?
Why would you say this about your history? These men rigged local and state elections and held important leadership positions in the Chamber of Commerce, schools, and hospital boards, and several service organizations. Local law enforcement and city officials were also members of the Ku Klux Klan.
Do we want to? I don't know if I want to do this town anymore.
Why are they embracing this shit?
I don't want to do. I kind of don't want to do this town anymore.
I mean, I guess they're just saying it's part of their history. I guess. But
I mean, good on them for not trying to erase it and hide it, but I don't know, that feels weird to go on the official city page.
They talk about Albert Patterson, who is a local attorney. There was a crime cleanup resistance thing that ended up happening where the concerned kid citizens began trying to clean up the illegal activities in the city. Albert Patterson was one of those people who was pushed. He basically was a leader of that it seems like, but unfortunately he was assassinated outside of his law office, and so there was I guess I don't know, man. That this is I'm fascinated by this city, but at the same time,
so like there's all of that where it was organized crime and like bad stuff that caused it to begin, and then at the very bottom, city accolades. After the city's rehabilitation, Look magazine named Phoenix City as an all-America city, and in 2007, Business Week named it the nation's best affordable suburb for raising a family. So it really turned around. Kind of was reborn like a phoenix.
Do we do Phoenix City Phoenixes?
I think so, because that sounds so stupid. And we're gonna spell the mascot part the right way.
Wait, are we actually doing this? Are we calling them the Phoenix City Phoenixes?
The Phoenix City Phoenixes? I don't see why not. I legitimately don't.
Fuck it. Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Yes.
This is great. All right. Let me just...
Because one, it's the name. Two, it's like the town was reborn of sorts. I don't see a better option.
There's not. There's just so much that there's so much there that you can't even like dream of. Oh my god, this is so stupid. All All right, hold on. Now let me just find our football field real quick. I have not been doing a good job of keeping track of these. I have to go back and rewrite them all down when we talk about them playing. But just a Phoenix City football stadium. So there's the Garrett Harrison Stadium, which is a high school football stadium in Phoenix City. It has been used for college and high school football games. My guess is that it includes. They're actually the Division III football championship used to be held here.
Oh,
from 1973 to 1982, and then again from 1985 to 1989.
That's cool.
So, all right, we'll use that. I don't know if Chattahoochee has a football stadium, and if it does, we will definitely reach out to them to make sure that we could be tenants there. But I guess Garrett Harrison is going to have to do for now.
Yep.
So there you go.
All right, for colors.
Okay.
I think orange is a good fit.
So yeah, we were talking about this. So orange, let's do. I think we do orange, and I mean, there was 4 colors that we discussed that we wanted to implement more of. There's orange
and
green,
black and pink.
Black and pink. Do we want to include green on this, or do we want to do black on this? Either one.
I mean, so black would, I think, fit better with the idea of rising from the ashes.
Okay.
But how do you feel about a green and pink team?
For Phoenix?
If it fit. No, for whatever our 8th team is.
We'll keep it in the back of our minds. I think we could figure it out.
But yeah, I think orange and black just fitting with fire and burning and rising from the ash.
Yeah.
I think black fits better than green.
That means their team abbreviation is PCP.
That's fine. Perth Amboys is PAP, so.
I didn't know that. Oh no, what are we doing to these poor cities right now? Oh man.
Fine.
Oh man.
It's fine.
Okay. There's a reason why maybe we will explore doing a more video game centric universe later.
Right.
All right,
but that's orange and black. Orange being the primary.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Orange and black, I think that works out perfectly. Black could be like an alternate.
Could be alternate.
Or even a road. Who knows? Yeah, I think that's pretty good. We got a breaking news story coming in right now. Nothing on the field related. Giants cornerback DeAndre Baker and Seahawks cornerback Quinn Dunbar are being sought by police following an alleged armed robbery.
Oh.
So if we really hope this Feel Good podcast has really helped, brighten your day, ladies and gentlemen.
We need to rise from the ashes in 2 weeks.
We got the next podcast we don't have any special segment planned, but we could talk about it. We'll figure it out. But that week is going to be our 8th and final team is going to be announced, and then from there we will begin draft prep. So we're looking forward to that. I don't know. I think that it just seems like we're entering a very quiet period with the NFL. So we might start going like all in on VBBFL stuff and just start really talking about what our plans for it, the players involved, and
totally.
We can start really breaking those things down. So we'll see how it goes. Any final thoughts or anything on anything that happened during the podcast today?
I don't. Thank you for doing this unorthodox idea for us.
Oh no, I listen. My goal for this podcast has always been to do something a little bit more the unordinary, and talk about we want to include a very gaming aspect of it, but also include a little bit of sci-fi. Like this was kind of, sci-fi fantasy aspect of things. Like I think that we don't want to stick to the status quo of what other football podcasts are doing, because right now all their football podcasts right now, they're just saying like, all right, well, who's gonna go from worst to first this year and all that stuff. I'm like, you know what, no, let's talk.
Who is gonna go from worst to first this year?
And I don't know, I guess, you know what, fuck it, Cardinals, I'll call it now.
Hell yeah.
let's just do it. Wait, no, yeah, they were worse last year.
They were worse.
I got thrown off for a second because I was like, wait, shit, were the Rams worse last year or not? But no,
Rams almost made the playoffs.
Yeah. All right. But anyways, we can have those discussions at some point. But right now, with everything being quiet and also the uncertainty of even if we're going to have a football season, makes it really unnecessary to really talk about too much NFL stuff. So we'll always be here to provide you a weird outlet to here's some other things, that are happening in our minds and other ideas that come to mind as well. But thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you all enjoyed. Go read 17 whenever you get a chance. And we will see you in 2 weeks.
Clocks at 0, babies. Why did I call them babies? Good night. Good ball. Virtual Ball Boys has been brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Find us on Twitter at Virtual Ball Boys and find more of our work at Team Chaos Pods.